Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video I'm going to show you a very interesting car with some very special tech. It's a car that has the last production Wankel engine in the classic sense, and it's the Mazda RX-8. Sit back, follow me, and enjoy the video. One of those rare occasions that I bought a model without a box. Let's take a closer look and see the hidden Wankel elements on this beautiful model. In addition to the very nice front-end detailing, you can also see the hidden Wankel rotor markings, and then I'll show you the rest of the car in different parts. In addition to the beautifully crafted headlights, the hood also features a rotor shape. From the side, you can see the beautiful wheels and brakes, and one of our favorite elements is the side gills. The rear of the car has beautiful details, the lights, the exhaust pipe, and of course, the rotor symbol on the rear bumper. Like the front brakes, the rear brake caliper has the Mazda lettering on the caliper, and my other favorite detail on the car is the rear windshield. It has a bit of the SA and FC RX-7 in it. Now let's take a closer look inside and open the suicide door. Unfortunately, the interior is a rather gloomy black, with a few gray elements in places to break up the dreary overall effect. This is not the fault of the model. Unfortunately, most RX-8 have dark interiors. That said, the Autoart has done a nice job, and for an older model, it still holds its own. The design of the gear knob also shows the shape of the rotor, but perhaps one of the most striking features of the interior is the front seats, where the shape of the rotor is hidden in the headrest, which I think is a very nice detail on this car. Of course, there are also some details that I really like the kickplate with the RX-8 inscription on the front door. In addition, of course, there is the roof and pillar cover, which many manufacturers nowadays like to forget. So by today's standards, I think it's a perfect interior. Like the interior, the trunk is also upholstered. The engine compartment is typical of cars from the 2000s. Here, too, the triangular rotor shape can be seen on the engine cover. Quite boring though, we get a nicely executed look from the Autoart. I really like the chassis. It's also more refined than a lot of contemporary Autoart. There are tiny little silver screws around the oil samp and gearbox, and the whole chassis itself is of a very high quality in my opinion, but the look speaks for itself. To sum up my opinion about the model, I can say that this Autoart RX-8 is a real masterpiece, a very nice job done by the manufacturer. There are not many alternatives if you want an RX-8. There is a Jada toys towards the very ugly and disproportionate tuning version. In addition, Norev has released a shocking tuning version as well, and on the other tongue of the scale, there are tuning versions of the ignition. So if you're looking for a plain RX-8, Autoart will be your best alternative. There were right and left-hand drive versions and X-Men and LM limited edition versions. There were also Japanese police car versions, but what I regret is that the Mazda Speed version was only released in 1/43 scale. There is no facelifted version, and the last Spirit R version was not produced. Prices range quite widely, with the cheapest for sale starting at $140 a box. Of course, if you are patient, you can get it for less, which I think is a very good price for this model. Today's opinable models of similar quality are more expensive, such as the Polar Master RX-7, and I wouldn't say this model is inferior. If you like the model, I think it is worth getting, and I can only recommend it. Mazda was the only manufacturer to persevere with the development and production of the Wankel engine for decades. Mazda was the first manufacturer to reliably adapt this very rare and unique technology into a production car, right up to the RX-8. The predecessor FD-RX-7 series was in production until 2002, but development of the RX-8 started in 1995 with the RX-01 concept. In this car, the 13B MSP engine was developed, but Mazda abandoned this project as their financial situation and the growing demand for SUV took priority. However, the engineers did not let the project go, and the engine was further developed in an MX-5 chassis named after a gokieburi or cockroach. This engine was later renamed the Renesis, with which the RX-8 later debuted. The project was eventually approved, but the only stipulation was that the resulting car had to be a four-door. The lead designer was Ikuo Maeda, son of Matsuburo Maeda, the lead designer of the RX-7. The final concept was presented at the Tokyo Motor Show in 2001, and in terms of form it was not very different from the version that went into production in 2003. Mazda made a bold decision to bring out an all-new version of the 8 series, doing away with the classic coupe shape, and the too naturally aspirated Wankel engine has not helped the car's reputation. It's true that the 8 series was a step down in performance from the 7, but let's not forget that the early 2000s marked the end of an era in Japanese car manufacturing, and very few manufacturers have managed to surpass the fame of their iconic predecessors of the 1990s. But with the 8 series, Mazda has given the world a very special car. On the one hand, the shape is still beautiful today, and despite being over 20 years old, it hasn't aged much. On the other hand, it has given buyers a car that is exceptionally easy to drive thanks to its 50-50 weight distribution, the front mid-engine design, and the huge advantage of the RX-8 that it remains practical for 4 people. The engine was modest than the 7, but it was the most powerful naturally aspirated Wankel engine to date, available in 2 power outputs in Europe, a 192 horsepower version and a 231 horsepower version, the Japanese market being slightly more powerful. The suicide door design also made it special, but Mazda wasn't the first to use this design, as it was the Lincoln Continental that really made a success of it, and it has been enjoying a renaissance since the 90s. As well as the RX-8, Saturn also used it on the SC2. Honda did the same with the Element, but there was also the Toyota FJ Cruiser, the BMW i3, the Mini Clubman, the Opel Meriva B, and nowadays the Rolls-Royce Ghost and the Cullinan, the Fiat 3+1, and also Mazda use it on the MX-30, which not only returns to the RX-8 in terms of door design but also the range extender Wankel engine. But back to the RX-8, until the 8 was released, the Wankel engine seemed to be a mature, relatively reliable technology, but it had its typical wear and tear faults. But Mazda improved the Wankel engine over generations as perfectly as it could, and then the NSU failed. Unfortunately, the RX-8 was not as reliable as the older generation RX-7, which is why the price was at its lowest for a long time. But nowadays there are many good ways to extend the life of this Wankel engine, so it has become a collector's item. But let's look at the specification. Power output on the more powerful model was 231 horsepower, good for a 6.4-second acceleration time from a standstill to 100 km per hour and a top speed of 234 km per hour. The RX-8 was the first Wankel to have a hydrogen-powered version, the RX-8 Hydrogen RE. It is said that only one of these cars existed, but Idemitsu and Iwatani leased one from Mazda, and according to some sources, a total of 8 cars were delivered. Another interesting fact about the car is that in the Top Gear broadcast, the RX-8 set an amazing lap time that beat cars like the Focus RS and the Lotus Esprit V8, and was the same time as the BMW E46 M3, which is amazing as there is a 100 horsepower difference between the 2 cars, but it was also less than a second behind the Porsche 911 Turbo of the time. In 2008, the model underwent a facelift which included revised front and rear bumpers, modifications to the side skirts, and a rear spoiler. At the end of production, the The Spirit R version was released in Japan as a tribute to the predecessor model, and the RX-8 received several special editions during its production cycle. Sales in Europe were finally stopped in 2010 due to emission standards, and in Japan production ended in 2012 without a successor model. It was the last Wankel engine car produced in the classic sense. In total, 192,094 units were produced. Finally, let's listen to the wonderful Wankel sound of the RX-8. We have now reached the end of the video. Thank you for your kind attention. I will be back with another video soon. I'm curious to know your opinion. Please write in a comment section which is your favorite Wankel engine car and which is your favorite Wankel engine Mazda model car. If you like my video, please like it. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And if you don't want to miss out on similar content, please hit the bell icon. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.